When you want to eat a fish stick, you don't just take it out of the freezer and eat as it is, but you put it in the oven and bake it so it looks and tastes the best it can be. Warming up before playing guitar is pretty much the same. You can't just sit down and start practicing. I mean, technically you can, but isn't it better to eat the fish sticks warm rather than frozen? Okay, so you need to warm up warm. Anyways, but how are you going to do it the right way, and why exactly are we warming up before practicing? Come closer. It's not because of what you think. I was living in a big misconception for a very long time. I was playing etudes and challenging technical exercises thinking that's the best way to warm up before playing the guitar. But then, one day, this happened. Not to mention that sometimes by the end of my warm-up routine I ended up having even colder hands than what I started with. So, what's going on? Now, to really understand this, let's jump back for a second and clarify why exactly we need to warm up. And I'm giving you 3 seconds here to come up with something. Think of anything. Why we need to warm up. 3 seconds. Okay, are you ready? So my take is, warm up prepares the body for the upcoming effort it has to make by stimulating the blood flow, especially in the arms and hands. This will improve mobility and flexibility in joints and muscles and will result in reaching your full potential during the practice session. Now, what I did not know is that warm-up has a short-term goal or short-term benefit and a long-term benefit too. And the short term would be to make your upcoming practice session more easier and more comfortable, while in the long run it prevents possible injuries. I always thought I need to be strong, I need good stamina to play well, and never thought about my joints. It was a mistake. Flexible joints are just as important. We use our hands a lot for so many different things. I recently learned that nowadays issues like thumb arthritis, tendonitis, or carpal tunnel syndrome are increasing problems among us for many different lifestyle-related reasons. We spend a lot of time hanging on our phones, we use a mouse for our daily work, we extend our thumb while playing a musical instrument, and so on and so on. But guess who else has the exact same hand issues as musicians? In their word, the problem I faced even had a name: gamer thumb. You probably guessed it by now. Esport players do fine small movements for hours and hours every single day, putting a lot of tension on their hands. Now, gamers are a pretty big community, so it was super easy to find a lot of insights about gamer warm-up routines. Alright, now let's chunk this up into 3 categories. Warm up without guitar, warm up with guitar, and the last one, which I'm sure you're gonna hate, lifestyle. Don't hate me for saying this, but you can do a lot just by adjusting your lifestyle a little bit. Eating regularly, drinking an adequate amount of water, sleeping well and enough, and giving your body at least the minimum amount of nutrition it needs can benefit in warmer limbs by itself. But if you're lazy like me and you eat whatever you can find every 6 to 8 hours, let's jump to the next point. Alright, so as you can see, we're outside. I already hate it. I'm sweating. It's 35 degrees here. I cut bangs, so I made so many bad decisions since my last take, but here we are. I found that if I warm up only my hands, that won't work really well, or not for too long. So in order to stimulate the blood flow, you have to make movements that involve bigger muscles. So do a couple of shoulder circles, arm circles, or punches, or whatever you like. It's going to engage not only your hands, but also your shoulders and some muscles in your back. Now, the following exercises were inspired by esport player routines, and we are going to focus on the wrist and thumb mostly. This first exercise is very simple. All you have to do is to extend all your fingers, let them stretch, and then release all the tension of your fingers and let it jump back. Stretch and relax. Next one is this thumb extension exercise where you're trying to stretch your thumb away from the rest of the fingers. You can have the rest of the fingers together to have this nice C shape. I like to call this exercise C shape extension. And you're trying to stretch the thumb away from the palm and relax. Stretch it and release the tension. During the stretchy part, you shouldn't feel any pain. You have to feel stretch but not pain. So once you feel pain, stop the exercise. The relaxation is also very, very important because that's how we maintain the flexibility and prevent injuries. Now put your palms together and one by one lift every finger. Let them stretch a little bit and just like we did previously, relax them. Let them just jump back to their original starting point. One by one, all the fingers, lift them up and then relax. The thumb too. This next one is called carpal squeeze, and what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to reach my pinky with my thumb, and I feel this stretchy thing in my wrist, in my lower arm, and then I release it. I reach for my pinky and I relax it. This next one is very simple. I'm just rotating my palm up and down like this. And the idea behind this is that both of these positions are a little bit unnatural for the hand. So the natural position of your hand looks like this. So rotating your palm is actually a stretching. And finally, the good old hand circles. I'm trying to engage my wrist as much as possible. The exercises I demonstrate in this video have worked for me really, really well personally. However, I can't stress enough that I'm not a medical professional and this information is not a substitute for medical advice. To continue, you need simple exercises where you can focus on the correct movement. So just pick some basic simple exercises which will warm up both of your hands separately. You also can write down this routine, and what I advise you is to stick to a certain routine and just gradually change it, or just add one exercise at a time or replace one exercise at a time, because a routine is called a routine for a reason. And I'm going to be very, very spiritual here, but I believe that the less unimportant decisions you have to make during this phase, the more you can focus on what's actually important, which is going to be the practice session itself, the music, and the creative work, right? So for example, just pick one exercise from each of these categories I listed here. These are techniques which you come across in classical guitar repertoire very, very often. So these are considered basic techniques, and if you just pick one of each, that can create a really, really good warm-up routine for you. Now I think warm-up and technical training are two different things, but you kind of can connect them a little bit during this phase, because you can start with some more simple exercises for the sake of warming up, and you transition into more of the training mindset and you start challenging yourself a little bit. What I highly recommend you to avoid is to warm up using an actual piece, something that's simple for you. I think it just doesn't fit the entire idea which I was explaining today. So what you can do, for example, is right after you prepare your muscles and joints and you played a couple of exercises, before you jump into the highly challenging stuff you're working on, you can play something that's under your level, very much under your control, and makes you feel really, really good about yourself, your skills, musicality and all. And you can just use that as like a transition towards the more challenging program you're working on. So remember to put the simple exercises at the beginning of this phase and gradually increase the level, but still just make sure to use simple exercises which target one specific technique or one specific challenge. Now at this point you probably wonder what are the exercises I'm doing, or what are the exercises I can recommend to you to do before warming up, and I hate to break it to you, I'm not going to cover them in this video, but I'm going to leave a link at the end of this video, and it's going to be, so I made another video where I cover basically everything about this. It's a longer video, about 20 minutes, but it's just such an in-depth video targeting these very simple, super useful exercises. So you will find it at the end of this video and in the description down below. So the right order would be: first, adjust your lifestyle where you can, then do a couple of exercises without the instrument to increase the blood flow in your upper body and prepare the joints, and then pick up the guitar or any instrument you play and do some simple exercises which are way below your level, allowing you to focus on the correct movements. But they will prepare you for the technical things you'll encounter in the pieces you're going to practice. Now you might say it's all a big hustle and why can't you just warm up with Un Dia de Noviembre or something? And I totally feel you, I really do. And believe me, sometimes it feels such a big burden to warm up like this. It's not always fun, it really isn't. But what I also think is that if there's something I can do, if there's something I can do every single day for 5 to 10 minutes to prevent something bad happening in the future, something really bad happening in the future, isn't it worth it? Like really, isn't it worth it? I think it is. When I started running for the first time a few years ago, I just left the house and started running. I had no idea why my knees and ankles hurt so much. So then I started taking short walks before running, and it was slightly better, but not really. So then I started dedicating time to warm up even my upper body, taking as much time as my joints needed. Running is like playing guitar, and walking is like doing a few technical exercises before it. But you need to warm up without the guitar too, just like before running, before lifting weights, doing an e-sport championship, and many other things. Now, if you're wondering what these basic exercises and elemental techniques are, make sure to check out this video here. And now as I'm looking around, I think this is a beautiful day to support my channel, so please consider to become a patron. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.